And there we are. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Have At It. This is episode 79. My name is Ben Cornett, and you're watching this live on my YouTube channel, Ben Cornett 9015, and on Facebook in the Ben Zone. So, what a weekend. What a weekend of great playoff games. A lot better than last weekend. Games were a lot closer. Um, a couple of upsets I thought. One, I don't know if you could really call an upset the game that we just saw, but certainly the upset, I'm sure for a lot of people was the Commanders over the Lions. So we'll get into that. But yeah, this was quite a weekend. Where do we begin? Let's start out with the Texans and Chiefs. KC pulled it out. They are now back in the AFC Championship game for the seventh year in a row. I mean, it's pretty much become the norm for them. You might as well just slot them in every year now. They're going to find a way to make it somehow. I had a little fun with it yesterday with the post, the refs and everything. That was kind of funny, but there were some bad calls. Let's be real. I mean, there were bad calls that Will Anderson did not rough the passer. That helmet to the chest, and I just said, well, I guess the chest is part of the helmet now. But no, for the Texans, I mean, thanks for playing along. Thanks for coming. They got to get an offensive line. That offensive line is brutal. I mean, CJ Stroud was running for his life every play. The run game, it helped a little, but it ultimately wasn't enough. So in the offseason, they better address the offensive line. Otherwise, CJ Stroud's going to have a lot of games where he's going to get pummeled. And that's no fun for a quarterback. That can lead to injuries. And just, the mental wear and tear on you would just get worse, without a good offensive line. I don't care what kind of quarterback you are. The trenches is where it starts. So the Texans need to work on that. I mean, it's no surprise that KC won. They had a little bit of a rough start, being off their starters hadn't played in a few weeks, so there was some rust there. But KC's KC. They get it done. Mahomes, Kelsey, Chris Jones defensively. I mean, he's just a beast, and he had his way with that offensive line all day. So, again, congrats to KC. They're in the championship game again for the seventh time in a row. Now, on to the night game, and this was a very fun game. The Commanders and the Lions, very good game. Commanders with the upset, putting 45 on the Detroit defense. What can I say? I mean, the Commanders, they're on a roll right now. They're playing well. Jaden Daniels just, nothing phases that guy. I mean, you would think a young quarterback, you saw it in Bo Nix, who struggled against Buffalo last week because that was his first playoff game. It was a moment was very big for him, but for Jaden, I mean, last weekend, this week, he just looked like somebody that's been in the league for 5-6 years now. I mean, he's just phenomenal. The defense got turnovers. Brian Robinson ran the ball well. Receivers made plays. Ertz made some great catches. And again, the Lions, tough, very tough to go out like that, especially when the expectation was to, not to win a Super Bowl, but to get to one. They've never been to a Super Bowl, so this was their big opportunity this year. Unfortunately, it did not work out. The injuries caught up with them. Playing so, and they had injuries in that game. I mean, Branch got hurt. A lot of other guys got hurt. I mean, it's just, you just feel for Detroit, for that fan base. I mean, shout out to my friend Alex Loosemore. Sorry, bud. Um, very disappointing. You know, unfortunately, that's just the way it goes sometimes. And I thought in that game, the offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, who, by the way, I'm hearing some reports that he's told the team that he's not going to be back. So he's going to take one of these jobs. They're saying it's most likely the Raiders. I live here in Vegas, and I haven't heard much on that yet. So I'll take that with a grain of salt, but wouldn't surprise me. And but anyway, I thought Ben Johnson like got too cute with some plays in this game. Trying to run these reverses, these laterals that you can get away with in college, but in the NFL you can't do that. Just because defensive players are better, defenders are faster, hit harder, you're not going to fool them. And that was a sign of desperation. They were down in the game. They tried to make some big plays. But Jared Goff was disappointing. Let's call it like it is. He did not play well. He got 3 picks, and he fumbled the ball. You just can't do that. Can't do that in the playoffs. He's one of the main reasons why they lost that game yesterday. Jahmyr Gibbs did great. He's great running back. Had some big runs yesterday, kept him in the game. But Montgomery played pretty well coming back after that and his injuries. But I thought the Commanders did a good job for the most part, of shutting down Amon-Ra St. Brown. St. Brown didn't do much in this game. He had a few catches, but he didn't really impact the game offensively. Neither did Laporta. So kudos to the Commanders defense. I know you're saying, well, they gave up 35 points, but they scored 45 points and their offense did. But this Commanders team, they did it again like they did in the last game against my Buccaneers. Time of possessions. They had 6-7 minute drives, kept Detroit's offense off the field. And when Detroit was on the field, they turned the ball over. So again, Cliff Kingsbury called another great game. Now they're in the NFC title game, a monumental task, as they got to go to Philadelphia next week to play the Eagles in the NFC Championship game, another NFC East matchup. And speaking of the Eagles, they beat the LA Rams today. Kind of thought I had the Rams upsetting them. I just thought that Jalen Hurts, and I still don't think he played that great a game. He did okay. He had a nice run for a touchdown in the opening drive. But for the most part, he was kind of held, kept in check, got sacked a few times. Jared Verse was great. But again, just when the Eagles needed it, they made the plays when they had to. So, the Rams, that big turnover by Kyron Williams going in the fourth quarter. I think it was the end of the third quarter going in the fourth. That killed them. That changed the momentum. Eagles were able to score a touchdown on the next drive and pretty much secured the game. Rams had one last chance, but just couldn't do it. So, Eagles, congratulations to them. Defensively, they're really good. Barkley, couple touchdowns. Just he's Saquon. They're the reason why this Eagles team is as good as they are. And if you're the New York Giants, why did you not resign this guy? That's got to go down as one of the worst moves the Giants ever made. Was giving up on Barkley, just letting him go in free agency. Why? I don't understand it. I really don't. Look what he's doing for Philly now. Raiders, they let Josh Jacobs go, let him walk. Look what he did for Green Bay this year. And Tennessee letting Derrick Henry go. Signs with Baltimore. Look what Derrick Henry did this year. And speaking of the Ravens, the Bills beat the Ravens just a little bit ago. Final score 27-25. Before we get to that, let me read some comments here. Scott Taylor says first. Thanks, Scott, for tuning in. Scott Taylor, Sean Spencer's the only happy guy here. Yeah. And congratulations to Sean, Will Kramer, all the Commander fans out there. And I think Aaron Ginsberg, friend of mine, high school, Commanders fan as well. Congratulations, guys. You deserve it. It feels great, doesn't it? That not only did you finally get new ownership that got you out of the, the crap hole that is mediocrity, but you guys are now a game away from going to the Super Bowl. It's incredible. I mean, you guys deserve it. You really do. The Commanders fans really deserve it. So congratulations to them. Scott says, sorry, Tracy Chandler. Yeah, she's a Ravens fan. Tough loss. We'll get to that. Scott says, will the Bills choke again? Well, they didn't this game. I thought they would. I made a post that said the annual Buffalo Bills playoff collapse is going to happen, and that did not age well. So Bills fans, any of them out there, send your hate mail, your hate tweets, your hate comments to me. Tell me what an idiot I am, because I am an idiot. But, let's get to it. Let's just get to it. I'm not taking anything away from Buffalo. They played a great game. Josh Allen deserves to be the MVP. Okay. The Ravens beat themselves. And you're not going to convince me otherwise. Lamar Jackson, early turnover, interception, opening drive. And then he fumbled the ball. He had some drop passes today. Mark Andrews drops a key pass on third down, I think it was. And then when the Ravens got it within 2, they had a great play call. Made Buffalo think move the defense to the left, but they went right. And Andrews wide open. It was a good play call. Jackson, good pass. Andrews drops the pass. Oh yeah, and he fumbled earlier. Key fumble in the third quarter. Turnovers killed him today. I picked the Ravens to win this game. I did. And they should have. If it wasn't for those turnovers, the Ravens would be playing KC next week. I'm convinced of that because, they could have beaten Buffalo. Buffalo played well. They ran the ball well. James Cook ran the ball well. Give him credit. They were good on third down. But, man, the Ravens are going to look back at this, especially Mark Andrews. I mean, he's going to look back, and I'm sure he's pretty dejected right now. I mean, nobody feels worse than he does. But you just can't have those mistakes. They had a big hands of the face on a Jabo that really pinned him back in the drive too. I mean, a lot of these penalties, really hurt that. The Ojabo penalty got a first down for Buffalo on that drive, led to a field goal to go up. Was it 27-19 late? You just wonder. I mean, how many more opportunities are you going to have if your teams like the Ravens and the Lions? Because let's face it, the Lions probably going to lose one of their coordinators, maybe 2 coordinators, and Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, DC for the Lions. You just don't know how many more opportunities you're going to get. And, especially for Baltimore too. I mean, I felt like, there's one team, and I thought if there's one team that could beat KC this year, specifically this year, it would be the Ravens. And they probably should have the first game they played this year on that Thursday night opener. If Derek Lively, wore a cleat half size smaller than he wears, would have won the game. Well, he would have tied the game, and then who knows what would have happened in overtime. But the Ravens should have won that game opening night. And they got off to an 0-2 start. They lost to the Raiders the next week, and then they started to get going again. But I really felt they could have beaten KC. That was the one team I thought could beat them. And now they're not going to have that chance. Again, they beat themselves. Sorry, but they did. So now we're going to have Buffalo, KC, Washington, Philly. I'll go over my predictions next time I'm on here. But two great matchups. Is Buffalo finally going to get over the hump? Josh Allen, I mean, maybe this is their year. I don't know. But I just KC is just, they find ways to win. And it's going to take a great game, perfect game for Buffalo to pull it off. I just don't know if they will, but we'll see. I was wrong tonight, so but we'll see what happens. But both games should be really good. They really should be good, close games. I think the Commanders have a chance against Philly. Again, they're going to have to neutralize Saquon Barkley. They're going to have to make Jalen Hurts beat him throwing the ball. And Jalen's not been great throwing the ball lately. He's got sacked a lot today. Like, I think the Rams got like 8 sacks in that game on Philly. So, Philly can be beat. Anybody can be beat. But, the Commanders, I may pick them. They're on a roll right now. Sometimes, they're not. I think Philly has a better roster, better talent. But I think the Commanders are playing a lot better right now. Better football, smarter football. They seem to be on a roll. And Jaden Daniels is not phased, in these big moments. So I could see an upset here. Commanders beating the Eagles, going to the Super Bowl. And for Buffalo, KC, I think it could go either way. I still think KC might do it, but we'll see. So Scott Taylor says three-peat coming. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they got to beat Buffalo first, and then they got to beat whoever comes out of the NFC. It certainly happened, and we haven't had a three-peat. I don't think we've ever had a three-peat in the NFL. I could be wrong, but if it hasn't been in forever. So it could very well happen, and I just don't. I know a lot of people don't want that unless you're a Chiefs fan. Nobody wants that. I've heard, people, friends, shout out to Johnny Dean. He says, like, he wants to see Buffalo do it, but he doesn't want to see them go to the Super Bowl because they afraid they're going to lose again. It could be. But I don't know. I mean, it'd be great for the Bills fans, for the Bill Mafia, if they can get to the Super Bowl. And that could happen. That could very well happen. And Tampa Bay Rays fan on YouTube, thanks for tuning in. How you doing tonight, sir? He says, no one ever three-peated in the NFL. Yeah. Well, there you go. So this would be a first if the Kansas City Chiefs stun the world. Well, not stun, but they can actually pull this off, and they could. They're that experienced. They're that great. Mahomes is that guy. He's the best quarterback in this generation. And I know there'll be fans saying, "Oh, the refs." Yeah. Refs are no refs. I mean, it's still an amazing accomplishment, winning 3 years in a row like that. If that happens, we don't know that if that will or not. Tampa Bay Race Fan 2008 says, I will see Eagles versus Chiefs part 2. I can see that. Yeah. Philly's defense is really good. But again, who knows? Commanders are on this roll right now. They have nothing to lose here. I mean, nobody expecting them to get this far, and those are the most dangerous teams. Are the ones that have nothing to lose at this point. There's pressure on Philly now. A couple years ago, they were in the Super Bowl. They were a few minutes away from winning that game, and so there is pressure on them. Tampa Bay Rays fan, 2008. Is the Lions' window of reaching the Super Bowl is narrowing down? Not yet. I will say though that if they do lose their coordinators, it could be like a thing with Philly where it affected them last year. They lost Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon the year before, a couple years ago. That affected Philly. And, so it could have an effect on Detroit. That continuity is very important. But I don't think it's closed yet. I would say if the Lions don't do it next year, possibly it could start to narrow down a little bit. I will say the Niners window's closed. Because they're getting older, and they're going to pay Brock Purdy a huge contract. If I'm the Niners, I would really seriously think about this because I don't think he warrants big quarterback money. He's benefited from a great offensive line, great playmakers, and until this year, a great defense. So I don't know. I think the window closed. The Lions, it's not narrowing down now, but I think starting next year, if they don't at least get to the conference title game, then it could be the beginning of the end. And again, that's another thing, with Dan Campbell, Mr. Risk It, and always going forward on fourth down. Now, I will say last night, Dan Quinn out-Campbelled Dan Campbell. He went for it. A bunch of times he's Dan Campbelling for the Commanders. So give Dan Quinn a lot of credit. If there's one criticism I have of Todd Bowles, he doesn't risk it a lot. Like he gets a little conservative, and we would like to see more of that out of Bowles. But that's the Bucs. That's another conversation for another day. So Purdy is a good quarterback, but not great. He isn't all that top dollar money. He's a decent quarterback. That's it. Not bad, not great. It's decent. And he has his chance this year when he had guys like George Kittle out, Brandon Ayuk out, to show that, okay, you know what? Let's see how good we do. See how good I do without these guys. Trent Williams was out. Let's see how good I can do. Didn't do that well. So, and you always need a good offensive line to succeed as a quarterback. But if you need a great offensive line and great playmakers to be a good quarterback, then you're not really a good quarterback. So he's not bad. Not great, though. Scott Taylor says JD5 has no nervous system. That's a good one. Yeah, I agree. Nothing phases him. Scott says I always went for it on fourth down with the ladies. I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did, Scott. Whatever you said. So Tampa Bay Rays fan, 2008. Purdy isn't a game changer. No, I agree. He's not. He's decent at best. Guys like Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Matt Stafford. Those are Joe Burrow. Those are game changers. Those are elite quarterbacks. Purdy's not. He's not a top 10 quarterback. I would take Baker Mayfield all day over Brock Purdy. I would. So we'll see what happens with the Niners, but I think their window closed. Because if you think about it, the Rams are going to be back. Seahawks, I think they need a quarterback. I know a lot of people say Geno Smith's not that bad. I don't think Geno Smith's that good. I'm sorry. I don't think he's great. He had a couple good games, but I always said with Geno, like, if you don't blitz him, that's where he struggles because he has to think out there. He's more of a thinker. But it's when you try to get to him, rush him a little bit where he has no choice but to throw the ball. It's where he makes plays. So as far as Seattle goes, I think they need to upgrade at quarterback. I don't think Geno's the answer. In my opinion, Glenn is perfect for the Jaguars. They have a quarterback in Lawrence and a running back. All he has to do is fix the defense, which is horrible. Then again, Baki isn't a good GM. Yeah, no, they're not going to hire Aaron Glenn. I think he's the favorite to get the Jets or the Saints job. And like you said, Baki's a terrible GM. Why do you think the Niners got rid of him? He sucks. And it's the Jaguars. They'll probably end up hiring. Well, I'm hearing Liam Cohen's the one that they're still in love with right now. But if I'm Liam Cohen, I'd stick around another year, get more experience as a coordinator. Don't take these jobs. The Jaguars, you're going to be gone in a couple years if you take that job. They'll probably hire somebody like Josh McCown or somebody, some big, or Bobby Slowick, somebody like that. Because that's what the Jaguars do. They hire a bunch of, nobodies. And they did. I know they hired Doug Peterson, but but again, I would have kept Peterson one more year. But I think the big problem is Trevor Lawrence. I've never been high on him. Turns the ball over too much. Just doesn't have it. So whoever comes in there, it's got to deal with Trevor Lawrence. So who knows? Let's see. Any more comments here? Scott says MBB says hi. Okay, whoever that is. Corey King Brown, thanks for tuning in. Trade me Corey. All right. So yeah, we're all set for the conference title games. Commanders and Eagles, Bills and Chiefs. There's going to be some fun games next weekend. I cannot wait. Also, we got more football tomorrow night, the national title game between two of the three teams I hate the most in college football. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the Ohio State Buckeyes. The other team I hate is Florida Gators. And of course, the title game has to be the two teams I hate. I mean, good one. Yes, I'm gonna watch it. I wish that game ended in a tie. You know what I want? You know what I would like? Is if Ohio State and Notre Dame, if it's tied up late in the game and there's just a power outage and they can't get the lights back on, they have to call the game. So just end in a tie. Like nobody wins. That'd be great. So if the city of Atlanta could, do me a solid and mess with the lights in the stadium or something, greatly appreciate it. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But if I had to pick a team to win, ooh, probably say Ohio State over Notre Dame. So there, I said it. Why did it have to be those two teams playing in the title game? Penn State almost beat Notre Dame. They had it. You know. Ugh. Anyway, Scott says, Ben Cornett, did you forget Millie Bobby Brown? What was I supposed to remember? Let's see. We got Tampa Bay Rays fan 2008. Jets are horrendous franchise, and Saints are in Cap Hill, and Loomis is still in the Breeze era. Yeah. And, you're still relying on Derek Carr. Too inconsistent. And he's always hurt. So, Saints are going nowhere. I'll give them credit. The last few games, they played pretty good. They went out with a fight, But the Saints, I don't think are going to be a threat in our division next year. I still think the Bucks are going to be the team to beat in there, and Atlanta. Now that they finally got a real quarterback, especially if Michael Penix develops into the quarterback I think he can develop into, he'll be one of the better quarterbacks in the league. So, as a Bucks fan, you hope that doesn't happen, but I said it before the draft. I said it, Michael Penix Jr. is probably the best overall quarterback in the draft. It's just his injuries, are the question mark. Can he stay healthy? He had 2 ACL operations on his knees when he was at Indiana. Then he went to Washington. We got to the title game. They had some great receivers on that team, including Bucks receiver Jalen McMillan. And they had Roma Duze. I mean, that was a great team. And they got to the title game against Michigan a year ago. So, Penix, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, I think, is going to get better. They got to get a good offensive coordinator. And rumor has it that Vrabel's probably going to have Josh McDaniels come back and get back to that role like he had before. So we'll see how that goes. And then Caleb Williams, who knows? I mean, he's got to get better coaching around him, and that organization needs to hire a good coach. They really do. But the McClaskeys, I mean, I just, Virginia McClaskey's got to be 300 years old by now. I mean, she's never going to go away. I mean, so that franchise is doomed. Atlanta defense isn't good, and they hired Eberflus as DC. Yeah. Well, Matt Eberflus is probably better as a coordinator anyway. So, who knows? I think Atlanta will be better next year. I just felt this year they were a little overrated, because everybody picked them to win the division, especially with us coming back, bringing Baker back, Mike Evans back, Levante back, signing Antoine Winfield, to a new deal, which this year didn't work out so well. He got injured. Hopefully next year he stays healthy, but I just thought, the Bucks are still the best team in that division. I don't know why we have to crown Atlanta, right? And keep in mind, Kirk Cousins came back from an Achilles injury. We didn't know how he was going to do, and it showed this year. He was just awful. And of course, the 2 games he actually played well, it had to be against the Bucks. We'll figure that. So, yeah, that still gets to me. We should have beaten them at least once. We had them on that Thursday night game. If Bucky didn't turn the ball over, unfortunately. Yeah. But anyway, that was then. This is now. Corey says KC over Bills. Chiefs 3-0 versus Bills never beat KC in the playoffs. Yeah, that's weird because the Bills in the regular season have dominated KC. But when it's the playoffs, it's the other way around. The Chiefs beat the Bills. So again, that'll be a very interesting matchup. Two heavyweights going at it. And the next show, I'll go over my picks for those games. We'll preview that. And let's see, they interviewed Eberflus. Yep, and I heard Cousins Atlanta might cut ties. Yeah, might as well. I mean, just say, you know what, it didn't work out. Take the hit, cap wise, and move forward. I mean, Michael Penck's getting a rookie contract anyway, so you can't afford to eat some of that money up. So Cousins will probably be, and I can kind of predict it already. He's either going to go to the Steelers or Browns, one of those AFC North teams. I could just see him in Cleveland. I really could. Especially Watson. He's going to be out for the years next year, so that's the worst contract in NFL history, without a doubt. But I could really see Kirk Cousins going to Cleveland. I could see it. That's got Browns written all over him. Right there, it won't matter because Browns are the Browns. Talk about the worst ran organization. Well, I mean, Browns, Jaguars, Raiders. Why do you think they're always in the top 10 every year in the draft? Because they're poorly ran organizations. I mean, you could throw the Bears into that one too. So, and also Carr might be gone too. That could. Could very well. But somehow I think they're going to keep him. I don't know if they trust Spencer Rattler yet. I'm not very big on Spencer Rattler. I think he's a little overrated. Watched him play in Oklahoma and South Carolina. He'll have moments, but then he'll have games where he just turns the ball over and doesn't make very good decisions with the football. So, we'll see what happens there. And you're right, TD. Add the Jets as a horrible franchise. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I heard some Jets fans are like wanting to bring back Rex Ryan. I'm like, what? Really? Rex Ryan? You want to bring him back? I mean, this isn't 2010 anymore. Like, how did it go with the Bills when he went there? He's terrible. Plus, the game's passed him by. So, and I've always said about Rex, he just likes to hear himself talk. That's all. To stay at ESPN, talk football, don't ball on the sidelines. All right. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and take off here. Just wanted to get on tonight. I want to thank Tampa Bay Rays fan on YouTube, Connie, appreciate it. Scott, Corey, thanks for tuning in on Facebook, appreciate it. And anybody else that's watching right now, appreciate you tuning in. That is my divisional round react. Like I said, I went 1-3. The only one I got right was the Chiefs. I had the Lions, I had the Rams. Rams were my upset pick. And I had the Ravens winning, but not to be. So on my next episode, I'm going to preview the conference title games. Should be a lot of fun. And we'll talk other stuff as well. So everybody, I want to say thank you very much for tuning in. Great show, Ben Cornett, says Scott Thaler. Appreciate it, Scott. Thank you. And we will see you next time right here on Have At It. Take care, everybody.